Now we'll change it up. Still the same source. Most of my other sources didn't really have anything good to talk on. It's a bit of a slow day for good international news, which is what I largely cover. Anyway, we got a little something for you, though. North Korea says nuclear talks at risk if South Korea exercises go ahead. Seoul, Washington. The United States looks set to break a promise to hold military exercise in South Korea, putting talks aimed at getting North Korea to abandon its nuclear weapons at risk, the North Korean Foreign Ministry said on Tuesday. U.S. President Donald Trump, who said he agreed to a resumption of stalled working level talks with North Korea in a surprise meeting with its leader Kim Jong-un last month, appeared unperturbed, reiterating that he did not feel pressed to conclude a quick deal. Earlier, North Korea's foreign minister said Washington's pattern of unilaterally reneging on its commitments was leading Pyongyang to reconsider its own commitments to discontinue tests of nuclear weapons and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Our discontinuation of the nuclear and ICBM tests and the U.S. suspension of joint military exercises are to all its intents and purposes commitments made to improve bilateral relations. They are not a legal document inscribed on a paper, it said. In another statement carried by the state news agency KCNA, a foreign ministry spokesman accused Washington Seoul of pressing ahead with the Dongmeng military drills this summer and called them a rehearsal of war. Well, I understand they're neighbors, and, it makes them nervous. Sure, we made some promises to South Korea, but I think those promises can be waylaid. And they would understand that we can't do this right now, otherwise they're going to start acting up. What's the bigger deal? A military drill? Or trying to keep North Korea happy while negotiating the situation? Diplomatically speaking, I think they should largely talk it out. And if they can't get them to let the drills be a thing, then, by God, you just need to pick your battles, don't you? We will formulate our decision on the opening of working-level talks while keeping watch over the U.S. more hereafter, the spokesman said. A spokesman for the U.S. Defense Department said South Korea and the United States were preparing to conduct a routine combined training program that suggested the drills had been scaled back to facilitate diplomacy. Working with South Korea, this training program has been adjusted to maintain readiness and support diplomatic efforts, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Eastburn said. This routine combined training demonstrates the United States' commitment to the South Korea-U.S. alliance and defense of the Korean Peninsula through activities that enhance combined readiness, he said. But like I said, you need to pick your battles. If they're really going to be pissy about this and there's no talking them out of it, then you're just going to have to let them have it or see things escalate needlessly. I know it's stupid, but there it is. Trump-Kim meeting. Trump had appeared to revitalize efforts to persuade North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons when he met Kim on the border between the Koreas last month, and said they had agreed to resume so-called working-level talks stalled since their second summit in February collapsed. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said at the time the talks would likely happen sometime in July, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but dates have yet to be announced, and the North Korean statement raises further doubts about when and whether they will go ahead. Speaking at a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Trump nevertheless stressed his very good relationship with Kim, said his administration had made tremendous progress and had great communication with North Korea. He said time is not of the essence. Tremendous progress sounds familiar. That's what he says about the Iran situation. What is tremendous progress, Trump? We'll see what happens, Trump said. At some point, I'm in absolutely no hurry. We can probably do something that will be very good for them and for everybody and the world. State Department spokeswoman Morgan Ortagus described the North Korea statement as having come from a person with the foreign ministry. She said the department looked forward to resuming talks and hoped no one would try to block in their government, or our own government, the ability for President Trump and Chairman Kim to make progress on the commitments that they made to each other. That sounded a little gay. commitments they made to each other. That sounded a little gay. Imagine some weird, like, obsessed political fangirl taking, like, a little model of Trump and a little model of Kim and being like, now kiss! And just, you know... Maybe that's just my own twisted imagination. Probably. Despite Trump's words of optimism, the two sides have appeared no closer to narrowing their differences over U.S. demands for North Korea's complete denuclearization and Kim's demands for relief from punishing sanctions. The North Korean spokesman said Trump had reaffirmed in his meeting with Kim last month that joint exercises would be halted and the U.S. decision to forge ahead with them was clearly a breach of the two leaders' agreements in Singapore last year. With the U.S. unilaterally reneging on its commitments, we are gradually losing our justifications to follow through on the commitments we made with the U.S. as well, he said. North Korea has frozen testing of nuclear weapons and intercontinental ballistic missiles since 2017. Trump has repeatedly hailed this as a triumph for his diplomatic efforts, even though North Korea tested a new short-range missiles in May. In his first meeting with Kim in Singapore in June last year, Trump pledged to halt what he called very provocative and expensive exercises with South Korea after the two leaders agreed to work toward denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and to improve ties. While the main annual South Korean-U.S. exercise have been stopped, the country still holds smaller drills. To finish this article off, Jacqueline Leaker, a spokeswoman for U.S. Forces Korea, said U.S. and South Korean troops continue to train together, had adjusted the size, scope, number, and timing of exercise to harmonize training programs with diplomatic efforts. Speaking on a U.S. radio talk show on Monday, Pompeo did not say when talks with North Korea might resume, but he hoped both sides could be a little more creative in their approach to them when they did so. Now, really quick, I just want to say, what is with Trump's incessant optimism all the time? Decrying diplomatic success when I wouldn't even barely consider it genuine diplomacy. Where does he get off declaring these things? Honestly. And secondly, you know what? Like, your summits with Kim have failed, often for the same reason. Bring an actual diplomat with you when you go. And let them do the talking. It would go so much better if you did that. And then you could just be there as a formality. But of course, Trump was obviously not going to listen to me or to reason, which are often synonymous. Not bragging, it's just a fact. Yeah, I am so sick of Trump's foreign policy. It's his idea of, quote, diplomacy. He does not know what the hell he's doing. He should defer to the experts in his government. Anyway.